The Aryan invasion theory has since fallen into disrepute. James Schaffer of Case Western University, a noted archaeologist specializing in ancient India, had this to say on the matter. The archaeological record and ancient oral and literate traditions of South Asia are now converging. In other words, India's mythology is being proved historically accurate. Schaffer then wrote, "A few scholars have proposed that there is nothing in the literature firmly placing the Indo-Aryans outside of South Asia, and now the archaeological record is confirming this." That's from The Enigma of India's Origins, from a book called Forbidden History, edited by J. Douglas Kenyon. Prehistoric Technologies, Extraterrestrial Intervention, and the Suppressed Origins of Civilization. Pretty interesting book. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. I see how quickly things are speeding up when it relates to the agenda. And the agenda has been pouring on us, the idea of these full-body scanners being placed in all the airports and more stringent security, proving my thesis that security is not the aim. An agenda is the aim. An agenda to enforce a police state and to get the populace used to the idea of having all of this intervention into their personal space and their privacy. That is what the agenda is, and that is what it continues to pursue. And that is why people are not held accountable. As has been pointed out by me before and by a lot of people commenting on my previous video, it was true for 9/11 and it's true now. And it will continue to be true in every instance where there is a breakdown in the system of security already. Because if they refuse to hold people accountable, then they are not interested in your security. Because otherwise, they would hold people accountable. And where the breakdown occurred, those people would be made to pay the price. Lose their jobs. Or forced to resign. It's simple as that. Now, the agenda moves swiftly in another area as well, and that is with our intervention in Yemen. Strange how those two situations were almost overlapping each other. Because now Yemen is considered a terrorist nation. And just like we, that is, this lousy, stinking pit of an administration, justify our involvement and our continued occupation of Afghanistan, we don't want it to be a breeding ground for terrorists. Now, do we have enough security in place to protect us from jagoffs like this underwear bomber? More than enough. It just has to be enforced. And where people fail to do their jobs, they have to be held accountable. Now we move into Yemen. The Yemeni government is strongly allied with Saudi Arabia. And as you know, Yemen is on the southern tip of Saudi Arabia. It occupies a very pivotal position when it comes to the Middle East as well. Now, the Yemeni government is having trouble with their own brand of so-called terrorists who are trying to destabilize the government in Yemen. Now, we are moving in that area now ostensibly to protect the Yemeni government and, by extension, Saudi Arabia. But, this has a broader scheme and a broader plan as well. And that is as much destabilization as can be attained in the Middle East and broader into Afghanistan, Pakistan, and ideally up through all the stands of the former USSR. Because ultimately this plays into Brzezinski's game that he's been at for years. And now he has a new student, a new pupil, Obama. Not only is he a complete tool of Wall Street, but he is a complete tool of the foreign policy manipulations of Brzezinski and his entire ilk. And what they are seeking to do is to destabilize the entire Middle East and balkanize it. Break it up into as small a states as they can, which are going to be pretty much at odds with one another, because we're talking about ethnic groups that have been traditionally, at least, shall we say, maybe not enemies, but certainly not good living partners. And that plays into the strategy of keeping China and Russia from being able to thwart the United States and thwart the Anglo American grand scheme by creating pipelines and deals with countries that are there right now, most notably Iran, Pakistan, and others of the more powerful nations in the region, and force them to deal with smaller, probably US-dominated, Anglo-dominated countries, or force them to get their raw materials and supplies via sea, and of course we will control, the Anglo American establishment will control all of the access ports into and out of, so we can, and that is the Anglo American establishment, can shut down effectively any movement of goods, and that of course includes oil, to China, to Russia, to whoever. We want destabilization. So if we are in Yemen bombing, why do you think we're in Yemen bombing? Are we really trying to help, or are we trying to cause a new conflict to arise and more stabilization, threaten Saudi Arabia? You have to wonder. It's all the agenda. That's what the agenda is in the Middle East. Destabilization. Just like the agenda is in this country with you and with me. It has nothing to do with your rights, what you want, or what you care about. The only thing that matters is what the powers that be want to force on you. So, what's to be done? Well, we need to continue to agitate, obviously, because this is a path we do not want to go down, and we certainly do not want another war. So whatever you can do, you must do. You have to act. You have to become politically active. You have to tell your representatives, your senators, and the president that you will not stand more troops going anywhere or more military interventionism in another country. That is Yemen. We're already moving into Pakistan. We're already stretched too thin. We need to bring our troops home. And in order to do that, we have to prevent them from going on any more wars of aggression and destabilization. So let's agitate to get out of Yemen and stay out of Yemen and have nothing to do with Yemen. And let's also agitate for a preservation of our constitutional rights and prevent more egregious invasions of our privacy and our personal space just because we want to get on a damn plane. Enforce your rules and your laws that you already have on the books, and if someone screws up, fire them! How's that? put someone on the job that's going to do it. Thank you. Good night.